In this video, I'm going to break down my top 10 breakout picks heading into this year, players at different levels who I think are primed for a major jump in production, and I also have 10 honorable mentions which I will put up on the screen. First up, we got Christian Barmore, second round pick in 2021. Whenever he's been on the field, he's been a major impact rushing the passer. As a rookie, he had 51 pressures, which ranked 9th among defensive linemen. He had the 5th highest pass rush win rate at 14.9%. Last year, he missed a lot of time with a knee injury, so he only played 327 snaps, but he still ranked 6th in pass rush win rate, and he was so much to handle for opposing offensive linemen. He has a really explosive first step off the line of scrimmage. Unless you have elite foot quickness, you kind of have to cheat to one side to seal him off. He's constantly repositioning his hands and driving his legs, which creates a moving target for the blocker, and he has an effective power element to complement his quickness. So just 5 sacks so far for his career, but the tape shows Christian Barmore as a really effective pass rusher, and with a full season healthy, I think he can put himself in that top 10 conversation. My second breakout player is J.C. Horn, one of the best athletes in the NFL at the cornerback position. He was injured as a rookie, but he played most of last season, and overall he was a really good corner. I didn't think the Panthers used him in a way that took advantage of his skill set. It was a lot of off zone match coverage, but with his size and length, you want him in press, shutting down receivers on the outside. But I'm really excited to see him in Evero's defense. I expect him to be playing the Pat Surtain, Michael Davis role, where they run a lot of quarters and cover 6, but they have their best corner playing press man on any vertical releases. He's got to start moving his feet better instead of grabbing onto the jersey at the route break. That was his biggest issue coming out of college, and he doesn't seem to have fixed it. He was called for several coverage penalties last year, and I will say there were a couple very questionable holding calls, but it's still something he needs to clean up. Next up, we've got Ravens defensive lineman Justin Madubuike, third round pick from 2020 heading into his contract year. He's one of these undersized 3 techniques who's learned how to use his low center of gravity to his advantage, and he just has a relentless motor, really consistent hand placement, and he's pretty much a wrecking ball. He can get underneath the blocker's pad level and drive them back into the pocket, and it's really tough to anchor against because you can't really establish leverage. You have to win with pure strength. I thought he was on the way to a breakout season last year, but he sort of cooled off over the second half, and at this point he's more of a splash playmaker. But in a contract year where the Ravens don't have many proven pass rushers, I expect Justin Madubuike to take a major step. At 5, I'm going with Washington safety Derek Forrest. He was one of my favorite players to watch last season. Based purely off of his highlight reel, he's one of the best safeties in the league. He has the range to cover both sidelines from center field. He ran a 4.4 flat in the 40, and he's also pretty good in man coverage. He's a hard hitter over the middle of the field. The only reason he's on this list instead of the already broken out list is that he did give up more plays than you want to see. He can still improve his route recognition. A lot of times he got beat, it was because he was a second or 2 late identifying the route break, and he gets out leveraged and has no way of recovering. But in terms of projecting to the future, I think a lot of that is easily fixable as he gets more experience. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe and leave a like, and also follow us on all of our social medias. The links to those are in the description. My next breakout player is Tyler Smith, offensive lineman for the Cowboys. His college tape was wild. Half the time he looked like Michael Orr, just carrying defensive ends to the sideline, but his technique, especially as a pass blocker, was just so inconsistent. He played with wide hands, he grabbed at the jersey instead of moving his feet, and it seemed like he was so focused on being this dominant finisher that his balance really suffered. So I definitely viewed him as a first-round pick based on the traits and the flashes of technique, but in terms of rookie year production, I thought he might start off slow and then develop into a great player by year 3 or year 4. But Tyler Smith didn't have anywhere near the amount of growing pains that most people expected in his first season. He still gave up some plays, but on a snap-to-snap basis, he was really steady for a rookie, and he played so much more under control than he did in college. So he started off the year as a solid player, but by the end of the season, he really put everything together. He had answers for pretty much every pass rushing move, and once he had a few games to catch up to NFL speed, you started to see more of the dominant run blocks. Over the last 8 weeks of the season, he was PFF's 6th highest graded offensive lineman, and his development track and how he finished the year makes me really optimistic for what he can do next season. As long as Tyron Smith is healthy, he's going to be playing left guard, but for the future, I think it's best to play him at tackle. He has top 5 potential at both spots, but you're getting so much more value playing him on the outside because it's a lot easier to find starting caliber guards somewhere else. Someone who's still more of a projection but has a really bright future is Cardinals tight end Trey McBride. He was a second-round pick in 2022, and through the first 10 weeks of his rookie season, he had 4 receptions for 31 yards. Tight ends usually get off to a slow start, and he was pretty much a non-factor over the first half of the year, but he gradually developed into a bigger role in Arizona's offense, and by the end of the year, he showed why he was the first tight end taken in his draft class. His 4 best games in terms of receiving yards came in the last 5 weeks. He's got speed, size, quickness, he can separate as a route runner, and he's dynamic after the catch. As a blocker, he's willing to be physical, and he does a good job getting his hands inside, but the play strength isn't where it needs to be for him to really do much against defensive ends. But he definitely has the upside to become a good to above average blocker, which is just icing on the cake because I think he's going to add a ton of value to this offense as a receiver. And then I also think Alontae Taylor is poised for a breakout season. Second-round pick for the Saints last year. This was a historically good rookie cornerback class, and the Sauce Gardner-Tariq Woolen debate took up most of the conversation, so there were a lot of great performances that flew completely under the radar. I think Tariq Woolen was the second best rookie corner, but I think the difference between Sauce and Tariq is greater than the difference between Tariq and that next tier with guys like Trent McDuffie, Martin Emerson, and Alontae Taylor. What stood out to me watching Alontae Taylor's tape was how under control and technically sound he was as a rookie. When he's recovering downfield on a go route, he doesn't hold or over pursue. He just reads the receiver's body language and plays the ball at the perfect time. In cover 2, he can get depth to take away the deep corner and then break on the flat route underneath and lay a huge hit. He's such a solid and well-rounded player already, and he has elite athletic traits to continue to develop. Staying in the defensive backfield, we've got Jalen Petrie, second-year safety for the Texans, coming off a really strong rookie performance, and he's another player kind of like Tyler Smith that started off good and finished the year great. He had 5 interceptions and 4 pass breakups, and from week 11 on, he was the highest graded safety in pass coverage, which I know seems kind of cherry-picked, but rookie year is when the most development's going to happen, so I think how you finish the season can be indicative of what to expect in year 2. He's at his best patrolling the middle of the field, laying the hammer on dig routes and deep crossers. I feel like he's a better run defender than some linebackers. He can actually stack and shed and engage with blocks head on. He just had a major tackling issue as a rookie. He led the NFL in missed tackle rate, and he had more missed tackles than any player in PFF's database, which goes back to 2006. So if he was just an average tackler, I'd be talking about Jalen Petrie's rookie year as one of the best I've ever seen for a safety, but he's got to become more reliable breaking down in space instead of just locking onto one point and over pursuing. I limited myself to 1 second-year receiver because honestly, I feel like you could make a case for all of the top rookies from last year to take a significant jump, but Treylon Burks I think will have the biggest jump in production from year 1 to year 2 because of how much time he missed. As a prospect, I had 3 questions about Treylon Burks projecting to the NFL, and I think he answered 2 of them as a rookie. The first question is, will his contested catch ability translate to a higher level of competition? Anytime you have a 6'2", 6'3" college receiver that gets a lot of his production off contested catches, there's always uncertainty about whether that will continue in the NFL, because in college you can win at the catch point purely based off your athletic advantage. If you're mossing a bunch of 5'10" corners that run a 4.6, that isn't guaranteed to translate to the NFL where everyone's 6'2" running a 4.4. Once the athletic playing field evens, you need to actually have the skill to time your jump and high point the ball, and even from a small sample size, I feel confident that Treylon Burks has that combination of skill, size, and explosiveness to win contested catches at a high rate. My second question was his ability to beat press coverage. This wasn't a negative, it wasn't something I knew he would struggle with, but he played about 70% of his snaps in the slot. He led college football in receiving yards on plays where he was in motion before he got the ball. Arkansas's offensive strategy was just get the ball to our clear best offensive player, and the easiest way to do that in college is to give them clean releases. But that's another question he answered pretty quickly. He showed some different releases off the line, and he's one of the stronger receivers in the NFL already, so he has the ability to just power through press coverage and get downfield. So with his size, speed, and ball skills, I think he can be somewhere in the low end 1, high end 2 range, but his route running is the biggest X factor for him to reach the AJ Brown comparisons. And last but not least, we've got Broncos guard Quinn Miners. He was a 3rd round pick in 2021 out of Wisconsin Whitewater with elite size and athleticism. Even coming from such a low level of competition, he never looked out of place in the NFL. He was solid as a rookie, and he took a significant step forward in year 2. His strength is definitely run blocking. He has the movement skills to be an elite zone blocker, but at this point I think he's at his best on gap scheme runs. He just creates so much displacement and has that raw strength to control blocks once he latches on. There are a lot of reps where the first 90% is great, but at the end he falls off the block. If he can become a more consistent finisher, especially at the second level, the sky is the limit for Quentin Miners. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Also let me know in the comments any NFL players or teams that you'd like me to cover.